Wisconsin is rich in water resources. The Badger State is bounded on the west by the Mississippi River and by two great lakes, Lake Superior to the north and right here on the east, Lake Michigan. In just a few minutes, we'll join two women as they set out to walk from here on Lake Michigan some 340 miles north to Lake Superior. And then we'll turn back the clock and show you a segment from one of our earlier years. But first, we'll join a group of hardy surfers for a winter outing here on Lake Michigan. I'm Dan Small, and it's time once again for Outdoor Wisconsin.
Summer to fall, winter to spring, from Green Bay to where the St. Croix sings, from Catamaran to Superior Shore. Outdoor Wisconsin, outdoor Wisconsin.
Lake Michigan has many moods. On a rare, calm summer day, the lake can be as flat as glass. And most years in midwinter, much of the lake is covered with ice, as it is now. But Lake Michigan sees its share of storms, too. The largest waves and strongest winds usually come in late September through March. So in Wisconsin, that's when the surfing season takes place. Traci Neuman went to Atwater Beach in Shorewood in January on a day with gale-force winds and record-setting rains to find out more about the local surf scene.
People mistake surfing with just the act of surfing, catching a wave or paddling. It's not that. I'd say 95% of your time is simply waiting for a wave. So when I'm out there, it's kind of a meditation of sorts. And I feel like I'm connected to myself in ways that just don't happen when I'm driving to work. It's either my family, the waves, you know, God, whatever it is. Those are the only times that I'm really, truly connected and really, truly me.
Look at that. I mean, we can go and see.
Let's go.
Might as well.
Let's go.
All right. Should we?
Yeah.
Out there?
Looking really good. Just in size, I'm stoked.
It's not bad. Big for Lake Michigan, that's for sure.
When it's not breaking for 2 or 3 weeks, you're just jonesing to get out. We surf wherever there's waves, period. And sometimes if there's something right there and you see it breaking, you just get in because you don't want to take a chance and drive for an hour and a half and see that there's nothing breaking. There's some folks that say that surfing here is better. It is not better. Surfing the ocean, Hawaii, all that it's unbelievable. But surfing here, what we call the stoke, is much, much greater. The waves, I think, are better there, but the vibe here is really a heck of a lot more fun. And when you catch a wave here and when the waves are working here, it really stands out because it is truly a gift. Surfing on a lake, you're a little bit less buoyant and it's a lot more difficult. And the waves are not as clean. I think that the Great Lake surfers here, once we go out to the West Coast, we catch waves easy as pie because these conditions are tough.
We are surfing in probably some of the harshest conditions on the planet. Wind chill, I've surfed in negative 20 or 30, but I've also surfed some days that haven't been as cold, but have just been straight up blizzards. I mean, the people that know me still think I'm crazy, but they at least understand where the crazy comes from. Most people they don't believe it, and how do you stay warm? Aren't you freezing? And I just kind of have to explain to them we have these wetsuits and they're really thick. The lake is kind of my personal sanctuary. It's where I go to kind of take the stress out of the day or the week and get to hang out with a community of people I've grown so close with.
When you're in a lineup with probably 20, 30 people here, you don't get what we call stink eye. You don't get people that are really angry as much. We know each other. It just feels like a group. It feels like a tribe almost. We feel like we're connected to each other when we're less connected than we ever have been because we're all plugged into our devices. And what's amazing is when you're waiting for waves, you don't look at the shore. You don't look at the buildings or the hill. You look at the horizon. And you can be out there with 20 people and it can be complete silence because they're all in their own space, doing whatever they feel they have to do to get grounded. The thing that we do very well here is we have this unspoken code where we're out there, it's head high, and someone will just say, hey, have you seen Eric or have you seen Tamir? And that's all we need to keep an eye on each other because you don't know. Your leash could snap, a board could hit you in the head, just a whole range of things could happen. So gale force winds are sketchy, but thankfully we have each other's back out there.
I hope that more people surf here. I mean, it is a double-edged sword because with more people, that's more crowds. But hopefully, you know, the stoke and the education we have around the lakes and the people enjoying the water here, that just continues to grow because it is something fun to do. It is something to get you off the couch in the wintertime.
Diversity in the lineup, there's potential there for that. Because right now the diversity, I think, is we have tall surfers and short surfers and a handful of women and a lot of guys and 1 or 2 black surfers out there. I think 1. And it's not just wanting to get more folks out there, but again, this is the resource that we all can benefit from. And the cost of surfing is relatively low. My hope for surfing in the Great Lakes is that we continue the path we're on. It does seem like it's grown a lot. And the thing that we've tried to do here, all of us, is make sure that we keep it feeling small town and keep the vibe, the stoke real. You know, you're gonna have websites and surf shops and shapers and all this other stuff that feels like it's the West Coast. That's great. But if we begin to adopt a corporate feel, that's not gonna work. So one of our hopes is to get more folks in the water, because the more we have people in the water, the more they know the lake. The more they know this lake, the more they'll fight for this lake. And right now it's safe to say that our lakes are in peril. And if we don't band together and get more folks involved, then folks will just jeopardize this. They'll just destroy it. So right now, you can have thousands of cars driving by Lake Drive, and they're looking straight ahead or at their phones probably. And they look at the lake and they look at it as if it's a canvas, but not really feeling it and living it. So my hope is surfing kind of changes their relationship with this lake and know that this is a gift that they don't just look at, but they can utilize and experience.
Surfers aren't the only folks interested in protecting the Great Lakes. 2 former Milwaukee County Parks Department employees, Julia Robeson and Alyssa Armbruster, set out from Discovery World here on Lake Michigan to walk 340 miles north to the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness on Lake Superior. Their purpose was to raise awareness of the need for water conservation in the Great Lakes and the need to protect the vital resource that contains 20% of the world's fresh water, provides more than 2 million jobs, and offers habitat for a variety of fish and wildlife species. Our story covers some of the highs and lows of their 28-day journey.
So proud of you girls. Love you. I grew up next to the Atlantic Ocean, and then when we moved here, seeing Lake Michigan was just the immense size of it. It was something that reminded me of home. I felt like I was looking at the Atlantic Ocean still.
I grew up around the Milwaukee area, so you don't really think about what it's like without having this big body of water around you, and it's really hard to believe that it's an inland sea, but it's fresh water.
If you live within the Great Lakes Basin, your body is 60 to 70% water, so you essentially are Lake Michigan if you're living next to Lake Michigan, and that's always fascinated me and inspired me to do things to protect water.
Really just try not to take advantage of it, that it's here.
You guys are here for our first steps of a 332-mile journey that we're going to make starting today. We're walking from the turf right here up to the shores of Lake Superior. If all goes well, we'll finish on September 19th. This project initially started for us just as an effort to raise awareness for the Great Lakes. And it's turned into so much more than that. It's turned into a fundraiser for important organizations. We're also working on a documentary. So we've got our film production crew here from Rainy Day Productions to capture all of the different stories that there are to tell in the Great Lakes. Everything from a research standpoint, from just a community standpoint. What do the Great Lakes mean to all the people that live on them and around them?
We're going to be getting on the Oak Leaf Trail, which is right over there. So you guys can be following us. Anyone is welcome to join us for the first rough mile of our walk. We have 300 plus miles to go after that, but you guys can do the first mile with us. All right, everybody, the first mile is done. Thanks to everybody who came out for the send-off event. This is Facebook Live, by the way. Hey. It was awesome to see everyone. We appreciate all the support.
With over 800 million people on the planet, 1 out of 10 of them have access to clean water. And so, yes, we've got 30 pounds on our back, but there's people who do this for survival every single day. And walking, it fit the bill for us.
It is the start of day 2. Had a little bit of a sleep in. Skies are looking a little bit ominous, but 20 miles today. 20 miles.
Initially, Julia came to me with this idea that we should walk around all of the Great Lakes. And I was like, well, that'd be awesome, but that's gonna take a long time. So we kind of brainstormed some more to see what would be realistic and looked at our schedules. And yeah, we decided to do this walk from Lake Michigan to Lake Superior. We're walking to 2 of the largest of all of the Great Lakes. And we're walking all the way across Wisconsin for it. And it takes about a month, so that's how long we'll be on the trail.
Morning! Morning, everybody! We got a little late start because it's pretty rainy today and it was storming all night.
Kept us awake.
But we were able to stay dry in our tent though still. We got 14 miles to go today, so a little easier day than yesterday.
It's been a Chick-fil-A laundry today. This morning we're at Harrington Beach State Park.
Got gravel road today, which will feel better on our feet. The paved interurban trail was
a little rough.
A little rough. Got some shin splints today, but we got it.
Putting together all the trails, making sure that they all meet up and making sure that the roads that you go on to get between the trails was pretty difficult, especially between Milwaukee and Green Bay. So that took a long time for us of doing trip prep. And then also up in the Ottawa, there's an area called the Donut Hole, which is not national forest land, and it's about a 23-mile stretch. So that would actually be our longest day because we need to get through that area so that we can camp on either side of it.
So much easier when the water is rushing.
I know.
We were at first a little concerned with having enough access to water to filter for drinking, but when you look at Wisconsin, it's just riddled with beautiful streams and rivers, and there's access everywhere we're going, so I'm not concerned with that.
Bears are obviously a concern, but we're not ignorant to what to do about them, so I think I'm more concerned about my feet than I am running into a bear.
Last night we thought we were gonna die. Then there was like this loud snorting sound. And I don't know, freaked us out. So we grabbed our bear spray, turned on our lights, started yelling. And you know, now after the second time it happened, I kind of just remembered that deer tend to do that with their noses. But it was good practice for us should there ever be a bear that comes up, and it was scary.
This is the morning of day 7 now. 20 miles today on the Fox River State Trail. Yep, 20 miles, and then we're going to be making our way into Green Bay today. So it's our first day back with our big packs. Yeah, so we're lugging the weight, 20 miles, 20 plus pounds. Alyssa's shins are feeling better. They're feeling better. My Achilles tendon is not doing so well, so we're keeping an eye on that.
Nothing prepares your feet and body for just walking with 20-some pounds on your back for 25 days straight. It was just, there was no way with our jobs that we could train for something like that. And so by Kohler Andre, up in Sheboygan, I rolled my ankle 3 times in one day. That day, my Achilles tendon was strained. So I didn't tear it or anything, fortunately, but I could walk, but it was so painful, and we still had 200 some plus miles left to go. So it was just scary. I was scared at the idea that we wouldn't finish this thing that we had spent our whole year working on and building up, and there was all of these people that were supporting us and cheering us on, and that was part of the motivation to just, you know, have hope and keep trying. It was a blessing to have a teammate there to kind of not let the negative kind of Debbie Downer thoughts take over. She was comforting and not frustrated with me if I had to slow down and taking the extra rest day. That was huge. So I taped up my ankle, just iced it for 2 days straight. I did get new shoes, and I also just shortened my stride a lot. And it was also hard because Alyssa and I are extremely competitive, so when she was 30 feet ahead of me, I was just chomping at the bit to be up there with her, but
duct tape fixes everything.
I had blisters the size of silver dollars on the back of both of my feet.
Oh, they're so bad.
And I didn't want to look at them because they hurt, and it was putting me behind, so it kind of reversed. I was like 30 feet behind Julia for a whole day. And then we finally stopped to look at them. There's not many people that I would pop blisters for, but Julia and I busted out our first aid kits, and she drained all my blisters, all 4 of them, for me. And it still hurt a lot to walk, but the pain was nothing compared to what it was like.
Our last night in the woods. Yep, tomorrow's our last day. And then we get to Lake Superior.
That's weird. It's weird. It's all weird.
I know, we've been living in here for 24 days.
24 days we've been in this little tent.
Yep.
I should show you.
Very spacious.
Welcome to our crib. Oh, I don't even know if you could see anything, but...
No. We've seen some cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's bittersweet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Bittersweet, because I'm ready to be done for a little bit, but it's sad at the same time.
It's been nice, like, living outside. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. We'll talk more tomorrow.
Or sleepy.
It's cold and rainy, but we won't.
Bye. Bye.
Our last night there, the weather was miserable.
Horrible,
it was
horrible.
windy, it was cold and rainy. You could just hear the wind rolling off of Lake Superior up over the escarpment, and it just sounded like this kind of epic drum roll.
Yeah.
So when I went to bed, I remember that sound just, it really got me amped up to finish and see the lake the next day.
And it's hard to explain how we felt when we approached Lake Superior at the very end and were able to dip our very sore feet into that cold water, but where we both kind of just were quiet and sitting there together and thinking about the last month on trail.
It was so rewarding. It was just an insane feeling to have accomplished that with our bodies being the driving force the whole time. Everything we needed to survive for a month had been on our backs. Our feet got us there. Somehow. We motivated each other the whole time, and we were still best friends at the end of it, which, you know,
we
some
both
people
slept in a tiny tent. Yeah, not a lot of people I could say I would be able to be friends with after that.
I know. I'm tougher than I thought. It's just amazing when you get your mind set on something like that, what you can do. Not just the physical feat of walking 343 miles with a pack on our back, but what we did that entire year to make the whole project happen, raising nearly $10,000 and doing the film and all of the outreach. We surprised me.
We started out in a total urban area and we ended up in 100% wilderness. We really felt like we touched everybody and everybody we could impact along the way. We met so many people that have the same common goal, and seeing
the gears turn in people's head and seeing them care about it and offering us beds to sleep on, meals, and then just wanting to talk to us about what we're doing is just reassuring, makes me feel like we're still heading in the right direction.
That's something that I hope what we did inspires someone else to do. Because I think one of the only reasons we were so successful in reaching people was because what we did was unique. Yeah. It seemed crazy, so people wanted to know why we were doing this in the first place. So there's a lot of positive progress that has been made over the years, and I want people to feel reassured in that, and that they want to see us continue to make the right steps forward and for the right reasons, and that it's not all bad news, but we have to keep investing in what we're doing if we want to continue to be able to tell good stories, in addition to be able to address some of the new problems that are arising in the future for the Great Lakes.
We'll tell you where to learn more about the Walk for Water in a few minutes. Right now, let's turn back the clock for a look at a segment we featured many years ago. This facility opened 50 years ago, and since 1934, it's been producing pheasants that are released each fall to supplement the wild birds produced in the state. And this provides additional sporting opportunities for the small game hunters of Wisconsin. Now, a generation ago, Wisconsin's farmlands produced a bumper crop of pheasants each season, but times have changed. Modern farming practices now prevent successful breeding of pheasants in many areas. And of course, there are more hunters today, and everyone out there in the field hopes to see a few birds and have a chance to bag one or two. Well, we had a chance to meet and visit with Lynn Hansen, who is the supervisor of this Poinette State Game Farm. Lynn, could you tell us something about the history of the facilities?
Well, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. 50 years ago, Harley McKinsey, the former director of the Conservation Department, consolidated several small game farm operations here for the express purpose of producing and propagating game species.
Why has the wild pheasant population declined over the last 30 or 40 years?
Well, there's been a lot of changes, primarily habitat, a lot of intensive farming activities. We've had draining of wetlands, a lot of subtle changes probably relating to pesticides that we don't have any idea what's happening.
Can we talk about the facilities and the procedures that you go through, from taking eggs, raising them right on up to release-sized birds?
With our new facilities now, we're a very modern, state-of-the-art type facility for production. We have a controlled environment breeder facility in which we can hold up to 7,000 breeder hens, and we can regulate their lighting when they start into egg laying, have automatic watering, feeding, temperature control. And it allows us to collect somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 eggs per hen in ideal conditions.
And once you have the eggs, they go to the hatchery building?
From the breeder flock, we collect the eggs, and they then go to the hatchery. We'll normally set every 4 to 5 days in our incubators, and 25 days later we'll be hatching the chicks.
I see. And from there, where do they go?
At day old, the chicks are either shipped to the day old chick clubs across the state, or they're brought here to the farm to our new chick rearing building.
And in the chick rearing building, how many are in one room?
Well, it's a stage system so that we have A and B room systems. The birds are in the first room for 3 weeks, and then the second room for 4 weeks. At 7 weeks, they'll be going outside, and they go to their large outside range fields. Right now, we have about 65 acres of range field covered either with wire or top netting.
Now, when will some of these birds be released?
Well, our hunting season starts October 20th, so the week prior to season we'll be starting releasing statewide. And we'll be releasing right on through the month of November for the various hunting properties.
What's the harvest rate among those birds that are released at these state hunting areas?
Well, on several other properties it's very good. Our hunters are very effective, and they usually are bringing their dogs along. On Bong, which we've been looking at the last 2-3 years, the hunters have been recovering about 70 to 80% of the birds we release there.
Well, Lynn, thanks a lot for showing us the facilities. I'm sure Wisconsin's pheasant hunters now have a better idea of where their birds come from. We'll end this week's show and our 35th season with a sneak preview of Elizabeth Cramer's winter visit to Bayfield and Lake Superior that we'll feature when we come back for our 36th season.
Let's go, guys.
To learn more about this week's features and to see past episodes of Outdoor Wisconsin, log on to MilwaukeePBS.org and search local programs for Outdoor Wisconsin, or visit the Milwaukee PBS Facebook page. In the weeks ahead, we'll be bringing you encores of this season and last season, so if you missed a show, it'll come around again soon. We hope you've enjoyed our 35th season. Saying goodbye from Milwaukee's Lake Michigan shoreline, I'm Dan Small. Join us again next week for more of Outdoor Wisconsin.